Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the WAFUNIF Lunch and Learn series. My name is Liliana Bucur, Cress, and I'm the president of WAFUNIF, the World Association of Former United Nations Interns and Fellows, the official alumni association for the former UN Interns and Fellows worldwide. We work with representatives from various organizations such as technologists, policymakers, financiers, community representatives, to educate and empower individuals to make a difference by discussing problems and solutions on a global scale. Through conferences, workshops, and mentorship programs, we equip our members with the skills and resources to drive positive change on our global issues. Today, I have the honor to talk to Ms. Claudia Abate, the founder, executive director, and chair of the board of directors of the Foundation for Post-Conflict Development. Good afternoon, Claudia Abate.
Good
How are you?
Good afternoon, Liliana. Thank you. I'm doing really well, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to have this discussion with you.
Likewise. I would like to say a few words about your foundation and a few amazing things that you have done in the past. And then I would like to find more about your foundation by asking you a couple of questions so our audience can know what exactly you're doing through your foundation. The Foundation for Post-Conflict Development, it's a nonprofit organization based in New York City, officially incorporated in April 25th, 2005, and it operates with a mission to support post-conflict nations in their development efforts. The organization is closely aligned with the United Nations by having signed the UN Global Compact and the UN Charter, and works, of course, to advance the Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 SDGs. The organization collaborates with various international partners, including governments, UN bodies, and other NGOs. Your foundation has branches in Monaco, operating under the high patronage of His Serene Highness Prince Albert II of Monaco, and plans to expand further into Asia-Pacific region. Claudia Abate, our guest today, is a respected and trusted advisor of the heads of state, heads of governments, and sovereigns, and her expertise and recognition encompasses working with philanthropists, governments, and the UN, and also other UN nonprofit organizations. Her work has been honored with nominations for the Seoul Peace Prize, and today the Foundation for Post-Conflict Development is it's a leading organization for advocacy, education, and project delivery in fragile and conflict-affected areas in different countries. I would like to start our conversation. We can talk more about you. I've read amazing things about your background. But I would like to start to talk a little bit about your foundation. And can you please tell us about the origins and the mission of your Foundation for Post-Conflict Development, and what motivated you to establish this foundation?
Well, first, thank you once again for inviting me to have this conversation with you and share my experiences with your viewers and supporters. It's so nice that you took that interest and you framed the organization so nicely, and I appreciate that. You know, I used to work for the United Nations. So in answering your questions about, the motivations and the beginnings of the foundation, it really derived from my work as an international civil servant. From 1993 to 2006, I had such a privilege to work in the Department of Conference Management. And I was exposed to all of the issues on the global agenda during this time period. I learned about the Millennium Development Goals, which is the precursor to the Sustainable Development Goals. I learned about self-determination. I learned about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and how important it was to have that in all situations, in every country, for every individual. I met people from all around the world who were not all from great situations. Some were suffering. Their counterparts in their own countries faced really dire circumstances. So I started, putting pieces together in my mind. And I was also truly privileged to serve on 2 peacekeeping missions outside of my conference management duties. I was sent as an election observer to organize the 2001 Fiji elections. And I was sent to East Timor in 2002 as an Independence Day support officer, whereby they needed special protocol officers to help organize these very high level meetings in a very quick amount of time. So through my work in those countries, I saw a lot of suffering, but I also saw a lot of hope and inspiration. There were so many needs, especially in East Timor. Now they restored their independence. Their country was still like in smoke when I landed there. So much to do. And I came from the United States. I'm an American, and I have so many privileges that come with that. And I didn't know conflict and war at that level. So I thought to myself, after I had this remarkable, life-changing experience, what can I personally do to make their lives a little bit better? And thus was born the idea to create an entity that could support these post-conflict communities. That was the area that I personally wanted to work in. And that's how it started.
Wonderful. I think you're an inspiration for me and for so many other people who are watching our series. Can I ask you how the mission evolved over the years of your foundation since 2005?
Thank you. Yes, that's a really good question. You know, when you design a mission of an organization, it has to be relevant for the time period it was created in. So in 2005, my mission statement included fulfilling the Millennium Development Goals in the context of post-conflict situations with concrete projects necessary for reconstruction. As time goes on, the Millennium Development Goals evolved into the Sustainable Development Goals. That's what the international community deemed was important and necessary for their own national goals and multilateral goals. As a nonprofit organization with associated status at the Department of Global Communications, we had to move with the international community. So we changed our mission to then be fulfilling the Sustainable Development Goals in the context of post-conflict situations. We also had some observations that our work shouldn't be limited to the post-conflict community itself, because a post-conflict situation more broadly can include maybe a neighboring country that's not in conflict but receives refugees. And we wanted to be open to be able to help as many people as possible. So we also expanded the mission to help conflict affected countries. And today we are actively following what's happening in September 2024 with the Summit of the Future and the Pact of the Future. And as those negotiations come to their rightful conclusion, we will also make our necessary adaptations to stay relevant.
Wonderful. I have another question. What inspired the creation of DANCE, which stands for Diplomacy, Words, Navigate, Collaborate, Eradicate, which is a strategy that, and how does each component contribute to the post-conflict development?
Thank you so much for that question. You know, when we devise our own organizations, you can't just do it and not have a clear strategy about how you're going to achieve your goals and break it down into something that is understandable both internally for your staff members and volunteers who work with us, but also externally for everybody else to understand, well, what is that organization about? So when we started the Post-Conflict Development Association of Monaco, my collaborator there and president of that branch, Muriel Bubio, she said, you know, why don't we come up with a clever little acronym that could really attract people in an easy, understandable way to learn about our strategy. So we talked through and we came up with Dance with FPCD. And as you pointed out, it's about doing it through diplomacy, which is the D, we really took a good look at ourselves and decided or concluded what we do best is cultural diplomacy, bringing countries together, bringing communities together, people to people from one country helping people in another country. So here's the cultural diplomacy component of it. But not only, we also work at the diplomatic level in United Nations circles or at the highest levels of government, ministries of health, for example, too. So it has a double sense there. And then through the A awarding, we wanted to award excellence. You know, what projects are out there or what people are out there that deserve recognition? Because when you recognize somebody, it inspires them to do more, keeps them going on the right trajectory. So the A was really about the Prince Albert of Monaco Leadership in Post-Conflict Development Award, which we'll get into a little bit later, I suppose. But that's our awarding program. Then the N stands for navigating. Well, we have to navigate a lot of different factors, different environments, and serve as a bridge between communities, high level officials, community levels, between countries, between partners. So that's the navigation part. Then through navigation goes to the next step, collaboration. So how do you move from one area to another? To get to collaboration is more significant for signing memorandums of understanding, which we've done with different entities. And then the E is for eradication of poverty. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the Sustainable Development Goals all have one thing in common. How do you eradicate poverty and make an equal playing field for everybody across the globe? So that's what we want to do. And all of our projects have that element at the end of the day.
Wonderful. You mentioned about the Millennium Development Goals, which were from 2000 to 2015, and then Sustainable Goals, SDGs. And we know that gender equality plays an important role in empowering the women. And I know your organization deals with women and girls. Can you explain the role of women in the post-conflict communities and how your organization supports them?
Yes. So thank you so much for that question too. It's really important as a woman founder of a civil society organization. You know, just in my own life and sphere, I've had so many challenges to overcome, and in the post-conflict environment, the women's challenges are compounded through the conflict itself. Maybe they have not enough access to resources, to healthcare services, yet they are still the pillars of their community and they are the pillars of their family. So it's only natural that they need to be uplifted and attended to in a lot of different ways. One of the ways we did it was through the creation of maternity clinics. And each maternity clinic we built was like a response to a government need, but a community need. And we had to build trust with the women to let them know that this clinic is for them to use specifically. We had to socialize with the women to build trust and educate them that they can come here. In Timor-Leste, when we first started this particular model of maternal health care, the women were afraid to go to community health centers to give birth. They preferred to give birth at home because in their mind, as it was explained to me, you go to a community health center because you're dying and very sick. When giving birth is the most natural thing in the world, so why would I go there? So having the model of a maternity clinic just for birthing with a special staff of midwives, with special food that is made to attend to a woman postpartum, that was important. And so that's one of the ways that we uplifted women. And so that's through health. Another way is through our Prince Albert Leadership Award, where primarily we recognize women who are promising diplomats or persons who want to make contributions diplomatically to their country and bring them out of their country to the United Nations to learn about firsthand what is diplomacy.
That's amazing. You mentioned about a few projects that you're doing for the women in Timor-Leste. What are some other most impactful projects that your foundation has implemented? And maybe you can share some success stories or cases, studies from this project.
Yes. So we did a lot of work in Timor-Leste. It was the first country we worked in. It was the inspiration for the creation of the organization. And in addition to the maternal health care clinics, we also built 3 youth centers because youth in the post-conflict environment, especially in Timor-Leste, was very fragile. There's a large population of youth. They were under motivated, didn't have a place to go. They would create mischief. So if they just had a place that they could run themselves and go to, it would help alleviate some of the societal pressures. So we did build 3, and I'd like to point out that 2 of them were funded by grants from the United Nations Staff 1% for Development Fund at the time. So, United Nations staff members are very generous, and they contributed to that fund, and then we were chosen to do those 2 youth centers. And other projects we did were in conjunction with the government of Monaco and the president of East Timor's office. That would be President Jose Ramos Horta from 2008 to 2014. A very large reforestation, community development, and family income project was done in a district called Amera. And this was a very long project that built shade trees for the coffee plantations, kitchen gardens to diversify the food income that came onto people's tables, chicken coops for women to lead so that they would also have an economic activity to engage in, fish ponds that brought fish from the sea up into ponds in the mountains that they could be farmed. And we provided a lot of water access to mountainous communities. I mean, it just goes on and on. It was amazing. And it was a way to highlight the Prince of Monaco's personal dedication to making the environment a better place. Because through all those activities, we contribute to sustainable development and a better environment.
And how does your foundation collaborate? I read about the group of 7 Plus. So I would like to know, how does your foundation collaborate with this group of 7 Plus and other international organizations to promote the sustainable development goals? So maybe you can talk about the benefits of these partnerships and how the collaborations with them enhance your foundation's effectiveness.
Thank you. So the G7 Plus, Little G7 Plus, is a group of 20 self-identified fragile and post-conflict countries. And it was led by Timor-Leste. So it was only natural that through their very mission and the very mission of my foundation, there was a lot of similarities. They also have their own separate mission about aid effectiveness that's dealing with donors, and that's their mission. But at the same time, having projects that can be best practices, peer learning in a post-conflict environment and fragile environment is something that FPCD does as well. So we were discussing for a number of years about how we could collaborate together, and we decided that in the sidelines of the UN Ocean Conference in Lisbon in 2002, we would have an official signing ceremony. And we signed a memorandum of understanding in the presence of His Serene Highness Prince Albert of Monaco and His Excellency Prime Minister Jeanette Gusmao, and all the G7 Plus officials and the Monaco officials who were there, and our special guests. And we all took an oath to commit to support each other's mission. And how that is beneficial is that it's sort of like a mutual credibility. We are standing up for each other and saying that in my sphere of influence, I will advocate for the G7 Plus. And in the G7 Plus sphere of influence, they will advocate for FPCD should there be a need that we can fulfill and serve as a bridge. So that just brings us diplomatically closer, and helps us understand more intimately what are the needs of the countries. I'm not from a post-conflict country, but I need to talk constantly and engage with people who are, so that I can do my job and be a bridge and bring them the assistance that they need. Another way that we made good use of the MOU is that we invited their Deputy Secretary General to serve as a board member on my foundation. So their Deputy Secretary General, Habib Meyer, has a special status on our board, and he's very well informed about all of our activities from A to Z, and he provides advice on how we could be more effective. And at the end of the day, taking a step back, partnerships is such an important part of fulfilling the Sustainable Development Goals. You can't do very much without a partnership. And we value every partner that we have, and we are actively looking for more partners all the time, because with my resources, I can only do so much. With a partner's resources, exponentially, we can do so much more together.
That's wonderful. And moving forward, you mentioned about Prince Albert II of Monaco. Can you discuss the significance of His Highness and how his leadership in the post-conflict development awards that has an impact on the field?
Thank you so much. So Prince Albert, I'm very fortunate to count as one of my dearest friends. And he had followed my journey in Fiji, at the UN, in East Timor, and he heard my stories and my passion to want to do something more. And it really reached his ability to want to do something too. He really was the best and first supporter of our work and enabled the foundation to create the very first maternity clinic. So with his support, we're able to do a lot more. It lends us a lot of international interest, because people want to know, well, why is he supporting this organization? Let me take a second look. And he's always coming to our events and talking to our team. He has briefings about our work, and he gives a lot of input into the direction of how we want to do our strategic plan. So we're very fortunate to have his support. And as a way to honor him, in 2019, we created this leadership award to honor his involvement, because he's been so generous over the years. So in his image, we wanted to make sure that young leaders around the world were given opportunities to learn about post-conflict and the United Nations and participate in activities that would enrich their own lives and their own understanding, so that they can contribute later on.
And can I ask you, how has the award helped to highlight and the support of leaders in post-conflict development?
Well, it exposes the individuals to the inner workings of the United Nations that they would never have an opportunity otherwise. And the way we designed the program was specifically, as we are an NGO in associated status with the UN Department of Global Communications, part of the award is being sent to participate at the UN Civil Society Conference, wherever that may be in the world. In 2019, it was in Salt Lake City. So we had 2 young ladies from Monaco and 2 young ladies from East Timor travel to New York, have a briefing to understand the role of a civil society organization at the UN, have a voice in whatever topic is being talked about. And then we further sent them to Salt Lake City, where they ran a workshop. They had to learn to work together. The girls from Monaco, the girls from Timor, opposite ends, different cultures, and they worked together and created friendship. That's cultural diplomacy too. and they were forever changed. When they were leaving each other to say goodbye, they were all in tears because they were so moved by their experience, and they didn't know when they would see each other again, but they made new friends as well. So that's how we do it. But we were hit by COVID too. So that was 2019. There was no civil society conference in 2021, not even 2022. It was just now this year we were able to participate again at the UN Civil Society Conference in Nairobi. And we had a large delegation there. So we're very happy. The women who participate are remarkably changed in their own words because they're exposed to other young people from all around the world who are advocating for different issues, and they're learning about those issues. So that's how we do it.
And I was there in 2019 when the Department of Communication had and then went to Salt Lake City. So I'm familiar with what happened at that point. I have another question for you. What challenges does your foundation face in its effort to promote country-led solutions for post-conflict development? And how do you address and maybe overcome these challenges?
So one of the challenges we have is really differentiating between post-conflict development and conflict resolution. When I started the organization, people were really under the impression that I was going to go in and try to create peace accords. That's absolutely not what we do. We are a neutral organization, and we make no judgment on a conflict or the way it was or was not resolved. That's not our place. And there are plenty of organizations out there that make commentary on that. We want the trust of all the people. It is strictly a human project that we're looking for. We don't make judgment. So that was a challenge in the beginning to make that clear. So it's pretty much understood now. We keep it front and center on all of our materials. But then the next item, once you get past that, is building trust. It takes a very long time to build trust. We all have different rhythms. Even when we develop a new friendship, how deep are you going to go in your conversations? Are you going to tell them your whole family history in the first meeting, or are you going to, test out that person? Are they trustworthy? Do I feel comfortable? Well, it's especially so as a nonprofit organization. We have to take the time to build the relationship with the leadership and the community level so that they will open up and tell us what they need, so that then we can go and do our job and be a bridge of support to help. So those are the challenges, and every situation is new, every situation is different. We don't know if we go into a new country like we did in Haiti, it's a completely different situation than East Timor. So we just have to be very patient and go slow.
I have just a few more questions, but I would like to know, how do you measure the success and the impact of your projects, and if you use any metrics, indicators, or that you might be using, and maybe you can share some of examples of how impact measurement has led to program improvements.
So, measuring success. For a lot of the projects, I personally, or I sent somebody, went to do site visits and see how a project was developing, take photos and make reports. As far as specific metrics, we did get some statistics about how many births were given in one of the clinics. Once we went past 1,000 births, we really didn't ask too much. We saw the clinic, it's working, it's operating, and there's still trust in the metric side of things. There's still a lot of trust that needs to be given in reporting processes. I used to work as director of philanthropy at one of the Rockefeller Foundations, and the trend there was that philanthropy needs to be more trusting. When you give funding to a person, a project, in your philanthropy, one has to trust that a small project is going to use the funds and resources given in an adequate way that they decide, not what the donor decides. And it's the same thing with the foundation and project development. If we give X amount of dollars for a youth center and we're going to ask for, specific, complicated, heavy weighted metrics of reporting to come back, well, then they may not have a good handle on English or access to a computer or electricity. So they're going to have to hire somebody. And now instead of having a youth center, we're going to have some external expert making a report just to satisfy us. And this was confirmed to me by my conversations with government officials in Timor-Leste. A lot more trust needs to be there. So I saw for myself how the projects were developing. The funds went to where it was. There are clinics, there are structures, there's programs. People's lives changed, and we do our best to collect as much information as possible, but in a very respectful way. Because when one asks too much for those kinds of metrics, it says we don't trust you. And everything we do is based on trust.
I totally agree with you, and that's so important. Um, I have another question. Do you have any future initiatives, projects that your Foundation for Post-Conflict Development it's planning to launch in the near future?
Yes. Well, we are on the brink of our 20th anniversary in 2025. And I am hoping that I can build another either maternity clinic or a maternal health training center, as we have either the Timor-Leste style or the Haiti style. And we are looking to expand the Prince Albert Leadership Award. We need to have more resources to be able to give more young people opportunities. We also have something called the Cultural Diplomacy Pledge, which is a very easy way to become engaged in our work by going to our website and clicking on a small pledge that says, I will learn about cultures that are different than my own. I will respect the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the UN Charter. I will treat everyone with dignity and respect. And you click, 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 and then you get your own certificate instantly emailed to you. So that's a project that we want to use to promote cultural diplomacy. Then we also have the Institute of Post-Conflict Development that we are gearing up to launch next year. And that is a project where we want to be a people-to-people exchange, where if you have worked in a post-conflict country, if you are from a post-conflict country and you have something to say on a variety of topics, we invite individuals to make a 2-minute video on their smartphone, submit it to us, and let it live on our website. So those are some of our future projects.
And in the end, we would like to know, how can individuals or other organizations contribute to and support you in your work? And also, maybe you can mention to us if there are any opportunities available for volunteering, donating, and even partnering with your foundation.
Yes, thank you. We are always looking to expand our partnerships. So if there are organizations out there working in the post-conflict and fragile environment and want to also fulfill sustainable development goals, they're welcome to contact us and discuss ways how we can work together to really exponentially increase our impact. Additionally, we have a newsletter where people can sign up for on our website, and we give periodic updates on our work. And as far as volunteering is concerned, we offer a select number of internships that allow university level students to be part of the FPCD delegation at the UN. And this is a very wonderful way to get involved in our work. And I can tell you, we get so many requests. It's not easy. I wish we could support them all, but we have to only choose a few. And then, of course, anybody who is so moved by our work, we could always use donations. Every organization needs funding, and it will always get put to good use with FPCD. There are existing projects that need additional support, and for example, I'm going to East Timor next week, and I'll be visiting one of the orphanages that we supported. And boy, they sure could use extra money to buy food, to give extra rice to the kids. So, anything that people feel so moved to do, we're always welcome to it, open to conversations. Visit our website and reach out to us. We're always answering our emails.
And we'll make sure that in the end of our interview, we're going to list your website, your social media accounts, so our viewers can get in touch with you and continue the conversation that we just started today. Again, I'm really, really grateful for your time, dedication, your wonderful work that you're doing in the world, and by helping so many people and countries in need, especially after a post-conflict stage. So I'd like to thank you again, to wish you safe travels to Timor-Leste, and to congratulate you for all your work that you have been doing so far. And I want to thank you also for joining us, to our viewers, in our today's Lunch and Learn series, where we explored again key topics related to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We hope that you found the discussion insightful and inspiring. And remember that every small contribution, every small action contributes to a larger impact. And please stay connected with us for more sessions as we continue to delve into each of the Sustainable 17 SDGs and discover practical ways to make a difference. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this series with others committed to global change, and to stay updated on our latest efforts and events. To learn more about the Euro Foundation for Post-Conflict Development, and also about WAFUNIF, and to tell us more about, to learn more about our mission and initiatives, please make a donation by visiting your website, which is the fpcd.org, or wafunif.org, our organization. Thank you so much, and see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you for having me today. It was a wonderful conversation. Thank you.